Let's see. So here we go. So again, my name is Claire. I'm the event coordinator at Village Books in Bellingham and Linden, Washington. I am so happy that you're all here today on this beautiful day. At least it's beautiful here in Bellingham. I don't know, wherever you may be. I guess there are people coming in from all over the world right now, which is wonderful. So welcome to our virtual readings gallery. Before we begin, I just want to encourage you to change if you want to change your view to speaker view, that way you get whoever is speaking kind of central on your screen. Also, if you could try to remain muted just until perhaps the Q&A portion of the event, we would appreciate it. Just like I said, to kind of make sure we don't have any background noise that might happen. Really quickly, since we have a lot of poetry lovers in the house today, I just want to let you know about an event that's coming up tomorrow. That's Sunday, October 25th at 4 p.m. in the Virtual Readings Gallery. We are welcoming Alexandra Teague and Liz Vignali. Let's see, Liz Vignali is presenting her book, Endangered Animal. She is a Bellingham poet. And then Alexandra Teague is presenting Or What We Call Desire. These are their two latest books, two fabulous Bellingham poets. That's going to be tomorrow on our Crowdcast channel at 4 p.m. Let me let one more person in here. So we encourage engagement throughout this event. If you have any messages or any feedback or any questions, you can feel free to type them in the chat during the event. That's on the right hand side of your screen, or down at the bottom of your screen you'll see that it says chat. You click on that and you can type in any feedback or any questions, and we will be monitoring that. We do encourage engagement throughout this event, so please feel free to use the chat feature. And then at the end, we'll do a Q&A where you can unmute yourselves and you can ask questions if you don't want to type into the chat. So let's see. But it is important that I state that the Virtual Readings Gallery is a safe space. Any user exhibiting hateful or inappropriate behavior will be dismissed from the event immediately. So please remember also that the featured book today, books by both of our authors, are available at Village Books, and I'm going to put the link in the chat right now. Whoops, that's not the right link. Pardon me while I do a little copying and pasting. So if you go to that link right there, you can go straight to the Village Books website where the featured book today is listed. You can purchase that. You can purchase the hardcover, the softcover, and then also Skein, Christen Mattix's memoir. So I encourage you to support the authors today and support an independent bookstore in so doing. So thank you very much. I also want to let you know that the hardcover of Whimsy Park the price on our website is incorrect in a very good way. The price of the hardcover is $24. It is not $32.95. So yay. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay. So, and now a little bit about each of our presenters today. Papa Green Bean is the pen name of John S. Green. As an early childhood development and education advocate for first-time parents, John believes in respectful and thoughtful parenting foremost, but also understands the huge benefits of playfulness and humor. He maintains a blog and Facebook page under the name Papa Green Bean, and although a widely published poet, this is his first book of poetry. And here it is right here, folks. This beautiful Whimsy Park, Poems for the Whole Family. And then also today, presenting with John about the illustrator, we have Christen Mattix. Christen Mattix makes whimsical watercolor illustrations inspired by her adventurous childhood and her deep roots in the Pacific Northwest. Mattix has exhibited her artwork throughout the Pacific Northwest and nationally. Her work has been included in numerous publications, including City Art Magazine, Bellingham Herald, and Cascadia Weekly, and she's the author of Skein. So please join me in thunderous applause in your homes in welcoming John Green and Christen Mattix.
Thanks, Claire. This is my lovely wife, Jen, and we might be Zoom bombed by two cats. So, but they're in the book, so that's okay. They're invited. Uh, yeah, thanks, Village Books and Claire. Thanks, of course, Kristen. This book would be nothing without her illustrations. There's 40 poems and 40 beautiful watercolor illustrations that Kristen made, and she'll go into that process a little bit, which was a very creative endeavor. Also, I want to thank Bob Paltrow. He's the graphic artist, and he also had a tremendous vision and really clicked in terms of creating our own font for the cover and for the titles of all the poems, and just putting it together in a really well thought out way. And of course, Jen, and then I have to thank, I already thanked the cats, but now I can thank Anna, my daughter, because she, of course, is the inspiration for Papa Green Bean. So, and then I want to thank everyone that's here today, of course. Um, so what I want to do is just do a quick timeline as to the history of Whimsy Park. About 10 years ago, when we were living in Connecticut, I came out of a dream in the morning, and I was in the woods, walking through these beautiful woods, not unlike uh, Alice going through Wonderland. And I'd come across these different animals, creatures. Well, let me ask. Let's just do a little thumbs up if you remember having poetry read to you as a child. Yeah, I that was a big impact on me. My mother would read to me every night. You know, Robert Louis Stevenson, all the Mother Goose nursery rhymes, all kinds of different things, including some of the Grimm brothers, which weren't quite as friendly. But that really made an impact on me. And then, of course, I went to sleep. So I think that might be part of why these poems started coming to me. And they all started off with I. Every poem in the book starts off with I. And the idea behind that, as it evolved, was that the reader, whoever's reading these poems, are in Whimsy Park, and they're the ones that are meeting all these inanimate objects, as well as a fox and a skunk, and so forth. So I want to start off by having someone in the audience. They said they would be willing to read the very first poem. I is Mary is Mary there? Mary Donahue Hendricks.
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, there you are.
Hello, hi John.
Oh, hi, Mary.
So good to see you. We got put it here.
Luella.
Luella loves Whimsy Park. She is a huge fan.
This is the poem, but I want everyone to see Luella. So, Luella, do you have it on? When you speak, everyone will be able to see Luella.
Yeah, here she is. Say hi. Say I love Whimsy Park. Hi, Papa Green. She likes Jolly Tot. It's one of her favorites.
Well, go ahead and read Bumblebee.
All right. I need to get it.
That's my daughter Anna on the left side.
I met a big old bumblebee resting on my shoulder. Her tickle made me giggle, so how was I to scold her? See the bumblebee?
Cute.
Yay!
So originally, all the poems, and I accumulated, close to 100. They all started off with this: I met a little something, I met a little something, and then when Kristen gave me this drawing, I said, well, that is not a little bumblebee. So I changed it to I met a big old bumblebee. And lots of little behind the scenes stories like that. So I started, when Jen and I moved to Bellingham about 8 years ago, I started attending Village Books. Of course, Village Books is such a gem here in Bellingham. I started attending their poetry group, and we'd all bring a poem and read it and share it and talk about it, and we'd have like 7 minutes. And so I started bringing my Meadowlilies, and Linda Conroy, who I still say, no matter, is one of the top 5 poets, if not Bellingham, all of the country. I love her work. She has a book at Village Books called Ordinary Signs, and she said to me, she goes, these Meadowlilies are wonderful, and she goes, this is your forte, John. Forget all your other poems. Focus on these. And everyone, said, make a book out of them. So I did. I made a book out of them. And I'd like Linda Conroy, to read her one of her favorite poems from the book. Linda?
Can I just say something? First, John, you introduced me there as being, I think I was a bit of a thorn in John's side, because he used to bring all these poems and we'd go over them. We'd say, yeah, this is good. This is good, John. You found because John always talked about working with little kids and with families. And so it seemed like a good match. And, but I used to say to him, have you read this aloud? Did you read it aloud to the wall, to yourself, to the cats before you came? And John would say, oh, well, no, not really. I just wrote it. I just brought it today. Well, I can tell now I have the book, and I read through the book as I did when John brought me a copy here a few weeks ago. It's like, yes, I can tell now John has read them aloud, because I was a bit of a stern critic for him and would point these things out, say, you want it to be your best, you want variety, you want the sounds to be good, and all those things. So here we go. This is the poem I chose to read. It's Grains of Sand on page 38. And the reason I chose this poem is because, well, when John asked me if I would do this, I had just come back from the beach. We finally got a short vacation out of town, the first one in about a year, having had to wait, all summer to get away. So I just come back from Little Grains of Sand. But the other reason I chose this poem is because I love the beach, and I love poetry about natural things. So Grains of Sand seemed like a good one for me to choose. Grains of sand. I noticed little grains of sand stuck on my toes like glue. I asked, what are you doing there? They said, we have no clue, but if you will, please help us cool down from this heat. I stepped into the nearest wave, and they dove right off my feet.
Thank you, Linda. It's always a pleasure having you read your poetry, and in this case, one of mine. Thank you. So with Village Books, I started the process of getting the book, and of course the first step was to find an illustrator. And so I was so fortunate. I really got lucky with Christen. So I'd like Christen to speak now a little bit about her experience. And when I have to say, first of all, when I first met Christen, I completely kind of respected her. There was a sincere wisdom in her manner, and so I asked her opinions on my poems, and she gave feedback on the poems, and then she started drawing them. Please, Christen Mattix, the illustrator.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out today. Just to share with you a little bit about the process. So when John approached me and asked me to illustrate his book, I was very surprised and honored, and also a little intimidated, because how do you show a grain of sand diving off a foot, you know? And there's other poems in here that are really imaginative, and you know, I had to think outside my box. I trained as a more of a realistic drawer or painter, and I had to figure out how to show goose bumps, boogie woogieing. You know, how do you depict that? So I was pretty afraid to say yes to John's invitation, but I'm really glad I did. It helped me to become a little more playful in my style, and you know, it stretched me in a really good way. I mean, 40 paintings, that's more than I've ever done in such a short amount of time, but it was really fun. And John and Jen were both so supportive. I would send them my work and they would say all kinds of nice things and then give me a little feedback how to tweak them. I would always start out with just brainstorming. I would jot down notes as I read the poems. I would make little sketches. Sometimes if it was something from the visible world rather than Goosebumps dancing, I would look on the internet for visual ideas, like pictures of hummingbirds, for example, or ants. So I would do some research that way. And then I would make a watercolor sketch, and I did a lot of passes on each one. It took quite a bit of time. I found that if I could just let go of my inner critic and just play and get into a really childlike mindset, that they actually flowed better. So I started working really fast and really intuitively, and I found that actually worked the best. So yeah, so it's kind of a combination of working, you know, painting from pictures, but also from my imagination, and trying to get the wonderful, joyful, vibrant style of John's verse, John's poetry, as well as his vision into an illustration. That was a great challenge, and I'm really grateful, John, for asking me. So,
thanks, Christen. I think Claire might have mentioned this, but if I want it to be very open, so if anyone has any particular questions for Christen or myself or the cats, or feel free to put it into the chat box, and then we'll have an official Q&A at the end. But feel free to throw something in the chat box at any point. Christen, would you like to read a few of your favorites? I think Great Blue Heron was one of them. Jen will put it up on the screen.
Great Blue Heron. I met a great blue heron way up in a pine. She said, "I'm preparing herring. Will you sit and dine?" "The sky is rose red," I shouted. "The sea a turquoise hue." "Exquisite indeed," she spouted. "Pickled or creamed for you?" So that was a fun one, because I like to imagine what it would be like to have a pickled herring with a heron up in a tree, you know? So I put a little cushion there and tried to suggest that you are going to join the heron.
Yeah, that's great. How about Preening Crow? That you said that was another one of your favorites you like to read.
Yeah, Preening Crow. I came upon a preening crow, so ardent, standing tall. I watched her clean each feathered bow, without a cry or call. The mounting sun on her shale coat shimmered in early dawn. As our eyes met, she bowed in note, then in a swoop was gone.
What drew you to this one to read?
It's just
Use the pun, draw. Sure.
I've had so many encounters with crows on my walks, and there's just something mystical about them and magical. And I feel like you really captured, it's just this perfect moment of encounter with another bird. Oh, Barbara Hicks said, love that crow painting, Christen. Thank you, Barbara.
Yeah, I agree. that's one of my personal favorites also. A lot of them are fun, fun and whimsical, but then there's some that are a little more mystical, and that's one of them. So 30 of the poems are a double spread where you get the illustration and the poem on the same spread, but then 10 of them have half a page. And so as everyone can see, Birthday Boy is on the same side, same opening as Preening Crow. So I thought maybe I just read that one since it's up. One of the things I think is really fun as a poet, and I encourage everyone to try writing poetry, and it doesn't always have to rhyme, but it's the alliteration, the eternal flows and rhymes, and that's something that Linda as well as other people stress, that really makes a poem shine and come alive. So there's a lot of that in Birthday Boy. Birthday Boy. I watched a blissful birthday boy who alley-ooped and hooped. He and his friends glowed with joy, cake sliced and ice cream scooped. I saw within their eyes a blaze, and in their play a burn. Young children with the world to raise, and a lifetime yet to learn.
Awesome.
Maybe Christen would like to read and talk a little bit about the cover poem, the cover one, Rubber Band. I think that's a really interesting one. That's one of my first ones also that I wrote a long time ago.
Yeah, I'd love to. Just a note about the screen share. If you could just enlarge the Zoom page so that it fills the screen. I'm seeing a little bit of the screen behind it. So I don't know. Maybe press the green. Yeah. Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
Better?
Yeah, much better.
Oh,
Thank you. All right, Rubber Band. I bumped into a rubber band on her way to there. She said, I am here as we always are, but there is not so far. When I exclaimed, my brain is strained, she smiled and said, don't stew, for if you do, well then, my friend, it's neither here nor there for you. So this was another one that, pardon the pun, really stretched me because I had to figure out how to make a rubber band that had the ability to talk and also the ability to travel. So, I was thinking, what do I do? I mean, I was just stumped, but it came to me that I could make sort of a girl, a woman, by twisting the rubber band into sort of an hourglass shape. And then, and then I really love this idea of neither here nor there. And it made me think about infinity. So I made the rubber band look like infinity, the infinity sign, if you know what I mean. So, yeah.
That really worked well, Christen. I was always so excited when you said, I have two more that I've completed. She generally sent me the illustrations a couple at a time. And some of the things were fantastic, little extras that you added on the cover. Snow, our white cat, is included there.
Someone just asked me, Christen, how large are the originals? And I think they're around 11 by 14, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. So pretty much almost the same size as the book, if you've gotten the book. It's a little bit bigger than the books, each spread on the book. I made them bigger than the book because when you paint them a little bit bigger, the image quality is much, much better, crisper, and more saturated once you shrink it down to fit the book size. So, yeah.
That's great. I'd like to ask Molly Nelson. She said she and her daughter Cece would like to read Green Rooster.
Hello from Minnesota. I'm one of Anna, John's daughter's best friends. And Cece, this is my daughter. She absolutely loves this book. We have a bookshelf at our house that she reaches every day and pulls this down, and we read the whole book. So we love it. So we can read Green Rooster for you.
Cece, where's the rooster?
And she likes the rooster sound the best. So
I think Cece's getting ready to smash an avocado.
I think so too. You're right, John. I walked up to a green rooster, strutting on a table. He squawked, "Today we fiesta. Do come if you are able. It sounds like fun. I'd love to help. Please tell me what to do." He smashed an avocado and crowed, "Guac-a-doodle-doo!"
That's great.
Thanks, Molly. We're gonna do a little audience participation on this one. So Jen and I will read Green Rooster. Then at the end, on the last line, everyone can say "Guac-a-doodle-doo." So if you don't have to unmute, but if you want to unmute, that'd be kind of fun. Okay. I walked up to a green rooster strutting on a table. He squawked, "Today we fiesta. Do come if you are able."
It sounds like fun. I'd love to help. Please tell me what to do.
He smashed an avocado and crowed, "Guac-a-doodle-doo!"
Yeah, guac-a-doodle-doo.
Guac-a-doodle-doo. Jen gets some credit for that one. We were driving back from a trip somewhere, and we were brainstorming some of these, and
we were talking about
you came up with that.
avocado, and somehow I came up with guac-a-doodle-doo. So that was one of my proudest moments.
So Jen and I, for this book, we created our own publishing company, J&J Green Bean Press, and very exciting. Jen, of course, was very patient, listening to all the poems, and she began helping lines like "Guac-a-doodle-doo." She's a professor in elementary ed at Woodring at Western, and a lover of linguistics. So one time she had her students for Halloween all come in grammar-themed costumes, and she dressed up as a sentence tree. So I wrote the poem "Comma" for her. So I'll have Jen read this one. If you could remember to mute your microphones again, that'd be great.
Comma. I met a little comma looking for his home.
Can you help me find my mama? I hate to be alone.
Yes, of course, I answered with a grin. He slapped my back with such a force, my head began to spin. He transformed into a hyphen, and then a question mark, an apostrophe, a colon, as we dashed throughout the park. We found his mama fast asleep, high up in their sentence tree. He hugged me tight, then with one leap, tucked in with his family.
Look at that cute comma in his mama that Christen did.
John, there's also someone in this audience named John Green that would like to read one of your poems, but I can't tell which John Green it is. They chatted with.
Well, there's like 10
no,
John Greens.
He said Jim Green afterwards. That's Jimmy.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Jimmy, do you want to read a poem? That's my brother in.
Let's see. Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. Which one do you want to read?
The one with the hands clasped. You'll have to put it on the screen because I don't have the book with me. I gave it to that family with 6 girls.
Oh, that's great. Thank you.
I think they tried to log in earlier. I'm not sure if they're still on, but
which one is it?
They were one of the John Greens, but they're on a camping trip right now, and a few of them have read the whole book. But the mother's favorite, and she immediately picked it out as she was paging through the book, and I agree with her. I said that this is the poem that holds the whole book together. It's the theme, and it's the one that with the hands clapped, and it shows the reverence for every little thing, that it's part of whether you're, of a religious or not, atheistic, agnostic, or non-committal. I think that we all agree that we would all have some kind of reverence for the power of the universe, the natural world, nature, whatever you call it, and how it all hangs together to give a higher meaning. And I think that this one poem encapsulates all the other poems, the way they have such reverence for such detail. And I'd like to read. Do you know? Have you found the one I'm talking about?
Is it called Hope and Prayer with the Rose?
Or is it Footprints?
Oh, let's see. Well, it's no, it's the other one. It would be the other one. I think it has a couple of hands. Yes, I think so. Yes.
Okay, Hope and Prayer.
Yeah,
I love this one too. When I read this one, I almost choke up really. And
well, go ahead, John. Why don't you read it? Because I haven't read it in a while, and you're. I just wanted to give that little intro to it, and go ahead.
No, you can read it. Go ahead.
No. I insist that you read it.
Okay.
I just wanted to give. I just wanted to show my. I just wanted to point this out. I want to make sure you read it.
Okay. Hope and Prayer. I came upon a hope and prayer who looked like they had froze. I picked them up with gentle breath and placed them in a rose. They asked if I would stay a bit and rub their achy toes. I nodded and obliged their wish. They soon began to doze. Beautiful. And that illustration is fantastic. Okay, Jen wants to read a poem that she helped me out a lot with called Lovely Butterfly.
Sorry about that. Okay. Lovely butterfly. I met a lovely butterfly whose wing was all in tatters. I can still fly well, she pined. That is all that matters. We sat together for a rest and shared a milkweed drink, and toasted her resilience as the sky revolved to pink.
Thanks, Jen. Now I want to ask my daughter to read one of her favorite poems. One thing I wanted to say was she's the inspiration of Papa Green Bean. When she was born, I found myself being extremely playful and talking and spontaneous, coming up with games with her, and the imagination in me came out, and I loved it. I think more than she did in the beginning, but it came across and turned out really well. And we have cats, but Anna loves to foster dogs. So she's going to read Service Dog.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anna Green, daughter of Papa Green Bean. And like he said, we did every night when my dad would tuck me in, we would read Tintin, long form comic books. We'd read all kinds of different stories, poems. So reading together was one of our favorite things to do and one of my most cemented childhood memories. So like he said, I like to foster dogs. I don't have one at the moment. So I'm going to read Service Dog on page 52. I came upon a service dog whose eyes were closed in rest. He said he'd worked 3 busy lives and had always done his best. The day was short, the hour long. We sat in quietude. He gazed up to the soulful sky where grief dare not intrude. He's a hero dog.
Thanks, Anna.
And we had a couple of comments. Alan said, fantastic poems and illustrations. Love it. Thank you, Alan. And then we got a comment from Carol McCreary to everyone. Environmental straw and a perfect potter's cup. Thanks, Carol.
I like Barbara Jean Hicks, better known as Barbara Jean, the Story Queen, to read Fat White Kitty Cat. Are you there, Barbara?
I'm here. Yes. I love fat white kitty cat. I've actually never had a white kitty cat, but I love cats, and I love the feeling that this one gives me. Fat white kitty cat. I pet a fat white kitty cat, full of soft. He kissed me with his wet barbed tongue, belly buffed. I placed a blanket on my lap. We stretched out for a long, slow nap. Dreams till dawn.
And John is going to bring the star of that poem. There he is.
Oh, love her.
Here's Snow.
What's her name?
Snow.
It's snow in Swedish.
Ah, okay. Oh, she's a beauty.
Yeah.
Thanks, Barbara.
You're welcome. Thanks, John.
And John, you actually shared some photos of your cats with me to use as models for my paintings.
Yeah, that was an actual picture of Snow on the bed, taking a nap on his back. I'd like to ask Claire, our hostess. I asked her to pick one of her favorites, and it's always interesting what people pick. No one's mentioned this poem until Claire picked it.
Really?
Yeah, maybe you could tell us something about why you chose this one.
So I selected Dreamy Koalas, and I selected it for just a number of reasons. I love the flow of the words, the way they all kind of follow each other, and you'll see. So Dreamy Koalas. I saw two dreamy koalas sleep dancing in pajamas, swaying to a woodsy tune. Badger strummed a 12-string guitar, Hedgehog drummed a jelly jar, Raccoon blew a double bassoon. The adorable koalas, in their charming pajamas, wandered off 'neath the swooning moon. And there's just something about, it's very vivid to me. I'm imagining these koalas in their pajamas, and I love the idea of sleep dancing instead of sleepwalking, and how they're just kind of swaying. And I don't know, koalas, pajamas, all of it. It's just all good. That's why.
Thanks, Claire.
My pleasure.
Terry wanted to read Pinecone. I think Terry's here.
I am.
All right. Pinecone, Terry. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love it. I love your book. I read it twice. And my grandchildren are going to love it too. So, all right. So this is Pinecone. Oh, you have it on the screen. I was going to read out of the book, but this is better. I met a little pinecone hanging in a tree. I asked her how her life was. It seemed so fancy-free. Not so well today, she said. I take a cup of tea and lively conversation, but must be back by 3. I've just the perfect spot, I said. I trust that you'll agree. And when I opened up my hands, she jumped in gracefully. We ambled to the Sweet Otter, a cafe by the sea. And with chai and jelly donuts, they vanished splendidly. And I would like to make the comment that one of the many things I loved about John's book is that he uses such great vocabulary, just juicy words, I call them. And it not only brings the poems to life, but it really increases the bar for literacy for kids. They're just being exposed to all kinds of great verbs and adverbs and adjectives, and it brings the poems alive, but it's really, really great literacy. So great job on that too.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. That brings up a good point. I've always been one to, give total respect to the children, and often when I read these poems, people would say, "Well, this is a word that they're not going to understand," and I said, "That's okay. They'll ask. They'll ask what does this mean, and then that's how they learn." And so a lot of my favorite children's poets took that approach, and I agree with that. Thank you.
John, we have a question. We have a comment from Anna. She says, I was told there would be chai and jelly donuts.
Oh, yeah. Well, we have them. We have the donuts. They're over here in the kitchen. Just grab one. Yeah. Yeah, we're serving hors d'oeuvres. Afterwards, we'll have a big smorgasbord right here on Zoom. Hot chai, indeed. Christen, I'd like you to read, you had mentioned Goose Bumps as another one of your favorites. Could you read that, please?
Sure. Yeah, the other thing I just love about your poems, John, is just they're so visual. And I think that they really appeal to children's imaginations. They're going to spark their little imaginations and hopefully inspire them to write their own poems. So yeah, great job.
Absolutely, that's right.
Yeah, Goose Bump. I came up to a goose bump floating through moist air. She jumped upon my bare skin. Soon her kin were there. They boogied mid my arm hair, which bopped back with their chums. I joined the dancing party and twiddled both my thumbs.
Thank you. Here we have Hummingbird over here, so I'll read that. I met a bubbly hummingbird atop my warm wool hat. It's toasty up here, he chattered, then gave my head a pat. I admired the loveliness of his flashy ruby crown and chuckled at the feistiness of my newest friend in town. Christen, how about Glass Bottle?
Hey.
I thought your illustration on this is a great example of some of the addition that you brought to the book. You know, your creativeness and for Glass Bottle. Look at that. I didn't expect to have a little guy on skis, a little hedgehog on skis.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to expand the meaning of the book beyond only the words. I wanted my images to add to the meaning. And I thought that a little scratchy hedgehog would be a great addition to a scratched bottle, sort of like yin and yang, cause and effect. So Glass Bottle. I came upon a glass bottle, empty, scratched, and bare. I blushed when he rolled up to me, trying not to stare. Sitting on a patch of grass throughout the steady flurry, he told me of his storied past in all its wondrous glory. As he spoke, I observed many small chips on him. Looking down, I noticed cracks in my own skin. The other thing I just love about this poem and so many others in this book are the celebration of imperfection, you know, that the chips in that glass bottle aren't something to be ashamed of, but actually something to celebrate, because that bottle has a story and a history like we all do. So it's just very validating and affirming of our humanity. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. That's right. Jen and I, we thought we'd read Gruffly Sneeze together. It's one of our favorites. In fact, we made a pitch for it to be on the cover, but we decided against it because someone said you don't want to put a person with a Kleenex up their nose on the cover of your book.
Gruffly Sneeze. I strolled up to a gruffly sneeze, shivering in his sweater, though it was midsummer, not the throes of winter. As he looked away, I heard him say,
"It's in my DNA. I was born a sneeze, as you can see, so a sneeze I'll always be. I married a beautiful cough, a lady so kind, so great. Our children are all little colds, cold 1 through cold 8. We name them Sniff, Snot, Phlegm, and Mucus, Soupy, Shakes, Brr, and Confucius."
Then a drop fell from his nose onto his frosty blue toes.
Yeah, look at Christen added a snail and those mushrooms and a cup of hot tea. and a hot press on the head, right? Let's.
There's a comment here from Desiree Cueto. She said, I'm a children's literature professor at Western Washington University. John offered a workshop at Nooksack Middle School, and the students commented on the fact that he never spoke down to them and helped them to understand poetry at a higher level. I hope John will continue to share his beautiful poetry with local children. He's brilliant. And then, yeah, isn't that great? And then another comment from one of the many John Greens in the room. Yay, let the chips fall where they may.
I have a guess who that might be. That's great. Thank you.
And Chris says, sorry to interrupt here, but Chris says, John, Peter laughed out loud at sneeze. So that's great proof that it's just perfect for children and for everybody.
Chris and Peter are there. Bemet is. I wonder if Sterling is there. If he'd like to read a poem, or is that too much on the spot?
Sterling says too much on the spot.
Okay, no problem. Let's. Why don't we open it up to Q&A? What do you think, Claire?
Sounds good to me. I mean, I think that people do have probably questions about this and maybe about your process. And like, my burning question was, Barbara Jean wasn't wearing her tiara, and I'm confused by that because the Story Queen usually has her tiara on, but I'm going to let it slide this time. But I am sad that there was no tiara that Barbara Jean was wearing today, but it's okay. But I wonder, John, if people are going to ask you this and if you can even really answer it. Do you have a favorite poem in your book?
Well, it's interesting because there's some of the poems that I didn't like as much. And then when I reread them after they were done, it ended up, I thought maybe that was my favorite at the time. But Rubber Band was always a favorite. And then one of the first time, I talked about the Bumblebee being the first one, and then Lively Frog was the second one that came into my mind. Coming out of the sleep, I met a little lively frog. She sparkled when she laughed. We sat
on a log and enjoyed a muffin.
We sat on a lily pad and shared a muffin half.
Yeah. Oh, yep. I read that one to my daughter.
Yeah. The first one that I came up with that wasn't, a live animal, that's still one of my favorites, is a very simple one. But it's also, I think, somewhat philosophical and talks about, I'm a big fan of play-based learning. So I'll make a little pitch for the parents that are concerned about online learning. I follow Teacher Tom, and I believe what he says, and that is that the children, just let them play, and they're going to be fine. They don't necessarily have to be stuck on a screen during this period. So I'm a big fan of play-based learning. So this poem I came up with, it's a very short one, little piece. Let's, it's, oh,
there it is, 32.
I met a little piece of what I cannot say, from where it came or where it goes, or if it likes to play. And originally it was I met a little piece, and as a lot of them, I changed the first lines. As Linda said, maybe John, they shouldn't all be I met a littles. Maybe I came upon or something else, a little bit of variety in the beginning. So that became, I discovered a little piece of what I cannot say, from where it came or where it goes, or if it likes to play.
I like that one. Christen, do you have a favorite?
I love Rubber Band because, it just, and who would ever think of a rubber band talking and talking back and having attitude. I mean, it's wild. It's really wild.
Christen, I have a question. Do you have a favorite illustration?
I love so many of them. Gosh, I like the kid licking his lollipop with sunflowers in the background because it's just so happy, and the lollipop is made of rainbows, and it just speaks of summer to me. So that one always pops into my mind. But I also love the ones that are just really weird, like the ones that I picked, like Goose Bumps dancing. Who would have thunk it? So, yeah. I mean, I'm just pleased that now exists in the world. It never existed before, but now we actually have a poem and a painting about Goose Bumps dancing. It just, to me, it speaks of the power of the imagination, and it gives me joy, and it gives me just a little glimmer of hope for this world, that there are people who can think of Goosebumps dancing. Yeah. Grown-ups who can think of Goosebumps dancing, not just kids, Yeah. There's a comment from Chris to everyone. I love how all of your poems celebrate the ephemeral and inspire us to appreciate small moments. I particularly love footprints. Thank you. And we have a question from Caro Quintana Cuther to everyone. What was the most challenging poem and illustration? John, do you want to go first? Or is that a question for me?
Maybe for both of us.
Yeah, great.
They're probably not the same poem, I would guess. The most challenging poem, well, a lot of these were redone. The one about the birthday boy one I read, that was actually like 3 other poems that I combined. I had some people read these ahead of time, and I think that used to be a wave. Like I met a little wave, and I envisioned it on the shore coming across, and it was about his travels. He had been all around the world, or maybe it was a cloud. I think both, maybe. And they were resting, and their heads were dreary. But someone said, "I think this is really too dark for children." So I ended up combining the wave and the cloud, and ended up with a birthday boy. But I used some of those lines from the second stanza in there, and that really turned out. What about you, Christen, for an illustration?
Yeah, I think the most challenging illustration, or one of them, there were several that really stumped me, but there was one of a baby grand piano, and I had to do multiple passes on that one. I actually ended up doing 2 paintings and then submitting them both to John and asking for his input. So yeah, and initially I put a pacifier in the baby grand's mouth because I wanted to play off that idea of it being a baby. But then John was adamantly against pacifiers, which I understand. Yeah, so I ended up having to get rid of that. And if you know anything about watercolor, it's pretty hard to make changes to watercolor without it showing. So I was walking on tiptoe into that painting to make that edit. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I was able to use, so actually you did 41 illustrations because you did 2 of the baby grand piano.
We have a comment from Victor and Mimi. And by the way, thank you all so much for your comments and participation. This really means a lot to both of us, I'm sure. A comment from Victor and Mimi. John, do you have a favorite children's book or author?
A couple of my favorite children's books are the classic Alice in Wonderland, and then another one is The Little Prince. And those are both big sellers, but you can see why they're fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, we have a comment from Carol. She said, "I love your gentle touch on certain themes, grief and transience. Next time I look at a rose, I'll see hope and prayer, and the service poem stays with me also." So thank you, Carol. Also from CJ Prince to everyone. or to John rather. John, you have a way of writing for adults and children at the same time that I enjoyed. Were you aware of doing this?
Yeah, I was, absolutely. I think the best, or I mentioned earlier, are ones that are where the parent and the child can both relate equally. I talk about it in my dedication at the beginning of the book quite a bit.
Another comment or question. Did you two ever disagree on an illustration or on the words of a poem?
I think we did, yes.
Yeah.
Well, the pacifier already, Christen talked about that. Yeah. I don't know if I should mention the straw, but I have to now. So in the lovely butterfly, originally that was a plastic straw.
Oh no.
Yes. And, nothing. I mean, I understand why Christen did it because it was very colorful, but I said I think we should make it a metal straw.
And I completely agree. So I'm glad you made that comment. All of your editing comments were spot on. And I wasn't sparing in my feedback either. I gave you a lot of feedback on poems. Yeah. I thought that was fun. It was a good sparring, a good back and forth. I feel like we sharpened each other. Another comment from Karen Marion. Hi, John and Jen. This is great. All caps, great. What a wonderful celebration. Uh-oh. Oops, I just lost it. What a wonderful celebration of your poetry and Christen's lovely art. My favorite poem is Youthful Dreams, although all of them are fantastic.
Yeah, there's a lot of poems we didn't get to. We didn't get to Youthful Dreams. We didn't do Footprints, and so forth.
You just have to buy the book. Read them all.
The time is up. I know we're right at the full hour, but I wanted to read one poem for our other cat because otherwise it might not end well for us if we read the white cat's poem but not the black cat's poem. And also I think this is a great example of
Go get her.
A children's poem that is extremely, in my opinion, poetic. It creates just a wonderful different feeling. So I'm going to read that one now, and then Jen's going to get the cat. Oops, wait a second.
John, while you're pulling that up, I've got a beautiful poem in your honor here from Rebecca Van Slyke. I came upon a great poet, the best I'd ever seen. I asked his name, and you know it. He said, I am John Green.
Here's Kiki. Oh.
Let's see. Okay, here's Kiki. Look at those eyes. Okay, and then I'll read the poem. I came upon a purring cat, deep black from tip to toe, except for the green eyes, which in her kohl did glow. Her 10-pound frame moved leisurely upon the midnight snow, like shadows in the midday sun, like a dream I used to know. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, on behalf of Village Books, I want to say thank you to everybody who turned out today. This was just delightful, and I love the format. I love everybody, different people reading their own favorite poem or selection. Kiki is hello. So thank you all again so much for coming. And I did put the chat in the chat. There's the link to the Village Books website so you can purchase the book. Oh my goodness, she is precious.
Thank you, Papa Green.
Oh. Oh, wow.
Thanks, Claire.
All right. Thank you. Okay. So I think unless anybody has any final comments, we're going to say over and out. Are we good? Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.